Welcome to DAX Machina. Join us as we explore the mysteries of this world. Cryptids, monsters, macabre tales, and horror stories abound. Could they be true? Are monsters real?
Good evening, folks, and thank you for joining us for another edition of DAX Machina. Joining me in the studio tonight is Anthony Pitbull Canatella, Robbie Wildman Rains, Krista is joining us from Blondes and Booze, and we are going to have an all-star cast tonight. Doc will be joining us with here in a little bit. He's running late at work. He had a bunch of orders tonight, but he's hoping to join us for the second hour. So we are going to be talking about the Ozarks Howler tonight, and hopefully getting into some good stories. Krista, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. Doing wonderful. Great day.
It doesn't sound too convincing.
Well, it's not, but it's all
like,
it's all,
yeah, whatever.
It's all good. How are you?
Alive and kicking so far, but it's early.
Yeah, I hear
Wearing
you.
my most obnoxious Bigfoot shirt for the night.
I like it. I like it.
Yeah, that's loud.
Anthony, how you doing, brother?
Good, man. Very good. All
Heard
good.
you got your new truck.
Yeah, knock on wood. Thank God.
Yeah. Robbie, how you doing, brother?
Doing good. Doing good.
You're looking very dark and mysterious tonight.
Yeah,
I try.
Or should we call you Rip?
I was about to say that. His new nickname is Rip Robbie. That's it.
Rip Rains.
Rip Range Robbie. That's it.
Hey, I can do a lot worse than be compared to him.
Good point.
Yeah.
So you guys have a good Thanksgiving?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I did. Got to spend it with family, and that's always great, you know?
Oh, absolutely.
Well, sometimes. Not all the time. You know, my family, no. They're a little bit, you know. We're Italian.
Sounds like my
That's how
family.
it goes. You know, we're loud people, so. No, we had a good time, man. We had a real good time. Family, kids were over, grandkids were over, great grandkids. Yeah. In fact, when I called DA the next day, he's like, bro, I was like, man, I went to bed at 8. I went to bed at 9 o'clock and I passed out. Those kids just, oh God, it exhausted me. They were just a handful. We had
Well,
what?
it's a good time, though.
Yeah, we had what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 grandkids at the house. Yeah.
Robbie had to eat his Thanksgiving dinner in a patrol car.
Yeah, I know.
I've been there, brother. I've been there.
Yeah, I think we all have.
Yeah.
I remember them days.
Anthony
Working
Not,
called me out.
not so
I was out on
fondly
the
either.
domestic when Anthony called to tell me happy Thanksgiving. I'm like, gotta call you back.
He was like, call me back. I'm like, oh, gotta be a domestic. I even mentioned it to him when I guess, would you have a domestic? He goes, yeah. I was like, yeah, I figured that. So,
Is that the one where you kick the door in?
No, that was a well-being check. The domestic
Oh,
was
gotcha.
later on.
Okay.
yes, Fred. Hey, Fred.
My green screen is chroma keying out part of the hat. So it shrinks down every once in a while.
Yeah, Fred's up there. What's up, brother? Sorry, I've been sick, man. I had COVID, and then it wound up kicking my ass. And DA will tell you, I mean, I was out of it for a long time. So I mean to be in touch with everybody. But yeah, man, sorry I haven't talked to you in a while. I know you've been busy with the show. Been watching your show though too, man. Good shit you got. Love it.
Hell yeah. So,
Yeah,
Chris,
Yeah, Fred's show is awesome.
yeah, definitely. So we're going to be talking about the Ozarks Howler. There's a lot to talk about with this. There was I'm trying to remember the guy's name. He was a cryptozoologist who tried to claim that the Ozarks Howler story was fake. He even published it in a book. I'm trying to remember the guy's name. It is going to drive me nuts until I think of it. Oh, I hate that. Chad Arment. He had a book of cryptozoology, and he claimed that the Ozark Howler was a hoax. He claimed that him and a few other cryptozoologists had been receiving email messages about Ozarks Howler evidence from some college student out of the University of Arkansas. The kid claimed that he made a bet with his buddies that he could come up with a story and get it on the news. And apparently, this story actually did get on the news in Arkansas. However, it turns out that this guy Arment made that story completely up because he was trying to debunk the Ozarks Howler because he was he was into Bigfoot and thought the Ozarks Howler was a load of baloney. So he came up with the story about how it was all made up by a college kid. But we've got stories of the Ozarks Howler going back into the 1800s. So there's no way unless he's got a time machine, there's no college kid from Arkansas in the early 2000s made this story up. As I remember hearing about the Ozarks Howler when I was a kid.
Well, isn't like I had read where like the Ozarks Howlers all the way from like southern Missouri all the way down to even parts of Texas, like sightings. So the dude gets around, don't he?
Yeah. Well, the Ozarks Plateau is huge. It does go all the way down to almost Louisiana.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, the area that's considered the Ozarks technically has a little piece of Kansas, part of eastern Oklahoma, most of Arkansas, southern Missouri, and even part of East Texas.
Yeah, it's a big area.
Yeah, it covers a lot of area.
For sure. Yeah.
David Bice said, didn't Daniel Boone supposedly kill one? Yeah, in Daniel Boone's journals, he said that he allegedly killed one near Cuba, Missouri. And even,
that's close.
Yeah,
that's
he even had it stuffed and mounted in his collection, although the specimen disappeared after he passed away. Nobody knows what happened to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sasquatch Odyssey's on. Hey, what's up, brother?
What's up, man?
Say hello to everybody. Tombstone's on.
Yep, Werewolf.
Country Boy Cryptid, what's up? They're all on. Corey, Elliot, yep. Everybody's here. Thank you for everybody joining. I appreciate it. DA appreciates it. Robbie.
Heck yeah.
Awesome.
For sure.
Miss Lene.
Northwoods.
Miss Lene's here. I hope she's feeling better.
Yes. Hope you're feeling better, honey. Who else did I miss? Did we miss? We got Corey. Fred. We already know Fred's on.
Graydon McKee in the chat. Hey, Graydon. What's up, brother?
Hey, what's up, man?
There it is, DA.
Yeah.
He's off and running early tonight.
Yep.
Good start there, brother. Good start. Right off the bat, you're there.
Didn't leave us hanging on that one.
Nope.
Says, love the new truck. Thank you, honey. I believe me. DA and Robbie know, man. I've been waiting a long time and deserved it. Trust me.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, I'm happy that I got something. And I got it. If I tell you where, Robbie and you know, I went shopping all over Florida for this truck. And they wanted crazy money, and I happened to look up South Carolina. And that's where I found it, and they shipped it down
North Carolina.
Yeah, it was south, north, whatever it was. One of those Carolinas. Yeah. But they shipped it down to me, and I got it for a really, really good price. I mean, the truck has like 18,000 miles on it. I mean,
basically brand new.
It is brand. I still got 100,000 warranty on it, bumper to bumper and drivetrain, so I can't beat it. For what the truck has, I mean, it's a Warlock edition, red, 4-wheel drive. I mean, it's got all the bells and whistles, the Hemi in it. So I lucked out. But thank you, everybody, for asking. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you got a lot of people out there.
Yeah, I got quite a few in the chat tonight.
Yeah, but even DA, when I was looking up the Howler thing, like everybody, and I'm not trying to get off subject, but it has to do. It's in the same category almost. The thylacine in Tasmania, they predicted that thing was extinct. Now they're getting pictures of this thing. That are legit. That this thing's still out there.
Oh, Forrest Galante that's almost taken up. 90% of what he does now is trying to find. It's
not a joke anymore. When somebody says, "Oh, I seen a Tasmanian tiger or dog," and they're like, "No, you didn't." Well, now they're taking it seriously because that one guy has trail cam pictures of this thing in his field.
Wow.
So this thing was supposed to be extinct back when in the 20s, DA? The last one in captivity?
Yeah, I think it was the 1920s.
So
1923-ish, I think.
yeah. So I mean, they're catching this thing on camera. So, there's a lot of things.
Do you know, like, the last time it's been seen or anything?
This year.
Really recently.
Yeah, on his trail cam.
Oh, on a trail cam.
Well, there was he did another. He's got a podcast that he does with a bunch of other cryptozoologists, and this one was there was a guy that was out in I want to say it was somewhere in New Zealand or Papua New Guinea or one of those.
It was Papua New Guinea.
One of those way out areas, and they said they were raising. You saw which one I'm talking about, Anthony? Where they raising the dogs, and one of the dogs was, when they described it, it was to the T what a thylacoleo would look
and everything,
like.
Yeah.
Wow. Thylacine, excuse me, not thylacoleo. Thylacine would look like, and supposedly there was pictures of it, but where they were at is not like you just could send so Forrest actually tried to send a phone to this guy. Long story short, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Anthony, but by the time they, messages got there, the dog had got killed.
Right.
There was no remains left, but just from the descriptions alone, it was spot on to what it would be.
They're still out there, and the guy has proof of it. I don't doubt it one bit. So it's the same thing as the howler. I mean, could it be an off branch of a wolf or a wild dog that mutate? Could be anything, man. I mean, you've seen all the weird shit in this world. I mean, come on.
Well, one theory that I came across while digging into the howler this most recent time is there's a group that seems to think this thing might be an offshoot surviving population of the creodont. And the creodont was a prehistoric, well, not necessarily prehistoric, but megafaunidae type. That's it on the in the background there. Its head's actually shaped very much like a thylacine. It looks like its jaws would open, really high, really wide.
Got a picture. There's a picture of a thylacine right next to it. Where is it? You had it on here. There it is.
Wow.
That's a thylacine with the stripes. And there's, So they kind of look, it looks like the big cousin to it.
Yeah. But the only thing about this is it doesn't explain all the accounts of the howler having horns, which is something that kind of stumps me. But that's one thing that seems to be consistent about the descriptions of the howler is that it's got these weird horns on it. Some say it looks like a dog. There's even some people that say it looks like a giant cat. But one thing they do agree is that it's about the size of a freaking bear, which.
That's what I read, that a lot of people say it looks like a bear or similar to a bear from what I read.
Well, this drawing pretty much, you can see
that don't look like a bear to me.
No, it looks kind of terrifying.
It looks like a werewolf.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
look at goatman / dogman looking thing.
Yeah.
Look at the cases in Mexico now. The cases in Mexico, there is actually a Mexican grizzly that was supposed to be extinct. Okay, somebody has pictures of this grizzly bear on his ranch in Mexico and New Mexico and Arizona that is supposed to be extinct. Now, like I said, these things, all these things, from the past are now coming back. Look at all the technology that we have. Of course, you're going to catch stuff that normally wouldn't have been caught back in the 70s and 80s. I mean,
we're getting, people are going way farther back in the brush than they ever used to.
Yeah. Bro, speaking of Papua New Guinea, there's places in Papua New Guinea that people haven't even been in.
Yeah, that country is only like 20% explored, I think.
Yeah,
that's the number. That's insane. I think they've already had like maybe 5 or 6 new species discovered.
Yeah,
in just the 20% that they've explored.
Oh, they had a whatchamacallit, a marten that was supposed to be extinct for over millions of years. They caught in the jungle on a trail cam, drinking out of a puddle. It was
Well,
supposed to be during the right before the around the dinosaurs, and this thing is sitting there drinking, and they're like, "Oh, wait a minute." I mean, there's a lot of stuff, you know.
Toshi the Wolf says, I wonder if the howler has big ears that have a natural split in them that makes them look like horns. That's
Could be
very
a good-
possible.
Good
I mean,
theory.
there's species of canine that have like really weirdly pointed ears. I can see how that could be mistaken for horns.
yeah.
Paul, I can't even pronounce that. So Smilodon was built more like a bear than a cat. Yeah, the Smilodon was the saber-toothed tiger, and
Yeah.
those things were freaking huge.
Mhm. Yep.
But the most unifying thing about the Ozark Howler accounts is the cry it makes, like this blood curdling, like half scream, half roar that can be heard echoing through the valleys and the mountains. And you know, there are people that have recorded similar calls from Bigfoot type creatures. Could it be misidentification of the scream? Could this thing just have a well, I would imagine a Smilodon would have a roar probably, several times on a magnitude higher than a mountain lion. And a mountain lion has a blood-curdling scream.
Right.
I mean, I've heard those close to my campsite, belting out in the middle of the night. And that's not a sight you want to hear when you're the biggest thing you're carrying is a pistol.
Well, we got something bigger for that. Don't worry, you know that. So.
Oh yeah. Well, I didn't at the time.
Well, we do now.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
I'll tell you that. Robbie's got one, and you and me have one. So.
Toshi says also besides the horns and roar howl, aren't the howlers also black furred? They've been mostly reported as being black, which again, it ties into it being something big and nasty, but it's not a color you normally see in cats. Now, granted, there are black panthers that have been spotted in Missouri forever, but a mountain lion or a panther it doesn't get that big.
What do they think it weighs? Have there been reports or
Some estimates put it in the ballpark of 1,000 pounds.
Wow, and that's like a horse,
Yeah, good sized bear.
Yeah.
I wonder if, like we talked about, was it last week's show when they were talking about the smoke wolves? I wonder if a lot of those sightings maybe are Ozark Howlers instead of because the color, the size, that's other than the name and them being called wolves. I mean, but that like that drawing you put up, it did kind of look sort of like a wolf, or at least wolfish in the face. I mean, maybe that's a misidentification.
Maybe. I mean, but these stories go back forever. I mean, since the Ozarks were first being settled by European settlers, they've been talking about creatures like that. Of course, Native Americans have got their own lore on similar creatures like the Shunkawarakan. The Shunkawarakan they referred to as the dog thief. This big dog-like creature would come into their camps and steal dogs and sometimes even people.
Right.
Then of course you've got the Black Shook. The Black Shook is a European lore, and one allegedly attacked a church in England, and I think it was in the late 1600s. And the church still stands, and it still has deep gouges in the door where this thing tried to claw its way in.
Country Boy had a question.
Shoot.
It's right there. I put it up.
I have not been able to locate any recordings.
I
personally have never heard one, but I've heard what I believe were Bigfoot howls, but they didn't show up on my audio recorder. I didn't have a sensitive enough mic. Now I've got my parabolic mic, but I haven't had a chance to record anything with it other than just the regular forest sounds. But I'm hoping I can hear something howling now that I've got a good enough mic to record it. I think I've got a picture of the Black Shook. Yeah,
you do right there.
That's creepy.
That is a nasty looking monster wolf.
That is.
Yeah, I think the best one The best one that I seen was on the movie 300.
I was just about to say that looks like the wolf in 300.
That looks
Yeah, it
just like
does.
that. Like the one when the kid's he's training.
When Leonidas, they're talking about Leonidas' training, that looks just like the wolf that he had to fight.
Of course, you've got the Scottish legend of the Kushi, and it's a death omen. When people hear it bay or see it, supposedly, if you hear the Kushi baying, it's a death omen. Either you're the one that's going to be killed, or someone but it's considered a death omen in Scottish folklore. And again, that's something that can be very much like a Ozarks Howler, just a terrifying creature from folklore and legend. And a lot of the Ozark Mountains were settled by Irish and Scottish immigrants, so they brought a lot of those stories, and it could have easily blended with Native American lore that was similar.
Wow.
Oh, sorry, throat's a little raspy.
Well, it's just like when we talked about loup-garou being French for werewolf, but then you got the Cajuns who come and all of a sudden rougarou comes out. Different cultures start mixing, and you hear this over here, and it sounds a little bit like something you have over there, and things start mixing in. You really don't know if one thing that's got one name over here is not based on what they knew from another culture. So that's why some of these things, like how many different types of Sasquatch names do we have? The grass man and skunk ape, and all, they may be the very exact same type, just adapted to that region where certain things are different about their behavior, or maybe their fur's a different color there because of what they've got to blend into. So maybe a lot of these, like those Ozarks Howlers, the Shook, the Smoke Wolf, maybe it's all sort of the same type species. It's just, one looks a little different. Asian elephants versus African elephants.
True, or just from taking eyewitness testimony, you can have 3 people witness event. You'll get 3 different versions of what happened.
Yep.
And when a person's under stress, that could explain, them saying the ears look like horns or something like that. But then, when I was digging into that, there was also another legend I came up with that I found supposedly happened back in the 1920s in Nixa, Missouri, which is just about 15 miles south of Springfield, maybe 10. What they referred to as the Nixa hellhound. Could the Ozarks Howler be some type of hellhound?
Wow. It's pretty creepy looking.
Oh, yeah. And there are legends of hellhounds all over the planet. I mean, every culture's got some sort of demonic dog legend.
Yep.
Yeah, Paul had he was asking about the witchcraft and the familiarity of the Ozarks.
It could have been something that was conjured up. I mean, there's a deep history of witchcraft in the Ozarks. I mean, it dates back even before white settlers came this far. A lot of Native American legends of dark magic in the Ozarks.
Yeah.
And I can tell you from firsthand experience, there's a lot of really creepy, that you would believe, haunted places all over the Ozarks. And some of them never even had a house on them. They're just places like that.
Even like we had talked about before, even like a lot of the caves, in the Ozarks are haunted.
Yeah. No, I mean, we did that one thing. I was telling DA, we were watching. I watched the show, and I think DA seen it, where they dropped a buoy in one of the caves in one of the rivers, and it came up in a totally different state. It was like miles and hundreds of miles away. It popped up in a lake somewhere, and it was like, I don't know where it was. It was like what, Kentucky to. You remember that, DA, when I watched that?
Yeah.
Especially we were talking about it. I mean, it was crazy how the cave systems up there branch out that far underground to, you're talking hundreds of miles away. And that was another possibility, not to get off the subject, that we think that Sasquatch travels through these cave systems to go certain places. That's why people can never track them, and they disappear. Like, well, it was right here, but then can't see it. I don't know where it went to, you know. But that could be the possibility. It could be other cryptids going using the escape systems too.
Yeah.
You know. Hey, William,
Yeah.
thank you.
Hey, thanks, William. Appreciate it.
Thanks, William.
Very cool.
Oh yeah, he put down. Did you see that?
Yeah. Well, speaking of the thylacine, this is a picture of what they believed was a Shunkawarakin that they shot in Montana back, I think it was late 1800s. It looks a hell of a lot like a hairy thylacine. Look at how long its mouth is.
Yeah.
And the
That
oddly
doesn't
shaped
even
head.
look. Yeah, that doesn't even look like a wolf.
No.
I mean, look at the legs on it and the
Yeah,
body.
look at those front legs. How freaking weird is the way those are
Yeah, I've
bound
seen
up.
wolves out in the wild. That does
It's
not
like they're-
even resemble a wolf.
It's like they're set back from where the shoulder actually attaches
Right.
to the.
But look down by its bottom feet how it curves.
Yeah.
Like
I'll
it
tell you
has-
what it looks like to me. It looks like, I don't know if you guys have seen it on one of the TV shows or something, but some woman has a stuffed like chupacabra.
Yeah. So it
Kinda
looks
Yeah,
like-
like a really hairy one.
Yeah.
yeah, they never even got the the DNA doesn't even match what she has. They don't even
Right.
know what it is.
Yeah.
They have no, that DNA didn't even match with anything on the chart. So everybody says it was a coyote with the mange. If that was the truth, the DNA would show it. It doesn't even
Right.
show it.
Right. Well, my question is if there's so many of these creatures showing up in folklore from even like Australia, the thylacine, there's so many of these creatures, and we know the thylacine existed, and we know that the creodont existed. Is it possible that we've got regional variances in the species, much like you do have like East Coast and West Coast black bears? They're both black bears, but they look very different if you put one side by side.
Mm-hmm.
Could these be regional species variation, or could these be genetic mutations? I mean, those do happen.
True.
Northwood said, check your email real quick.
Okay, give me just a
He
second.
He might have pictures or something. Who knows? He's good for that. He's in Australia, isn't he?
No. Tombstone's in Australia.
Tombstone's in Australia.
He sent me the Disney version of Ozarks Howler. It's Beast from Beauty and the Beast.
Oh God.
I would show the image, but I don't want a copyright strike from Disney.
But you know what?
board.
That is. You think about the way
Yeah.
Beast looks in
With
it.
the horns
That's
and-
Mhm.
yeah.
that's a pretty spot on
Got
rendition
the
of
horns, and
a
Yeah.
standing, walking.
other
on
than
two
he's
legs.
brown instead of black.
Yeah.
Yep.
Is it just me, or in Beauty and the Beast, did you think the Beast looked better as the Beast than he did as a human?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Yep.
He grew on you. That's the whole thing.
Yeah.
John Doe says it is entirely a case of convergent evolution. It very well could be. I mean, we don't know the origin of these creatures. We've got Ozarks folklore of all kinds of weird animals, like the vampire beast that supposedly haunted farms around Ava, Missouri.
Yeah.
There's lots of really weird folklore here in the mountains of the Ozarks. It could easily be a regional adaptation. It could be just something that evolved here off of another species. We don't know. I mean, but there's so much lore going back on the Ozarks Howler. It's hard to just dismiss it.
Right.
And as that guy, what was his name? Chad Arment. Again, I couldn't think of it again. As Chad mentioned in his book, when he was trying to debunk it and claim it was a hoax, I've got a copy of a book that was written in the 1920s about the Ozarks Howler. So you can't tell me a college student from Arkansas State University 20 years ago made up a legend about a creature that I've got a book on that was written in the 1920s.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not possible. Even Lauren Coleman, who I think everybody in cryptozoology knows who Lauren Coleman is. Lauren Coleman is. Even he thought that there was something to it because of how far back sightings go. Edward Kung Fu Mashburn says, is Doc okay? Yeah, he's just had to work late at his shop. He had a bunch of orders. Said he's going to try to be here for the second hour.
What was his name? Edward Kung Fu. Oh, look at that! I didn't even see that.
Paul, I'm sorry, dude. I'm not even gonna try to butcher that. It says there could be two types of things that could be the howler. One is a surviving Smilodon. The other type is supernatural. All the sightings. I don't think I've ever heard anything that really attributed anything supernatural to howler sightings. They were just described as big animals. Now I did put a bit of a supernatural twist on it. When I wrote my book, The Lakeview Man, Beast of Blunk Road, I used the Ozarks Howler because I wanted it to be a much more dangerous and formidable creature. But the sightings reports, I don't know that I've ever read one where people saw it like go through a portal or turn invisible or anything like that. It was just all described as a big animal that came out of the woods, and they saw it for a little bit and it went back into the woods. Other than being terrifying, it really doesn't have any really bad features to it. People that have claimed that they've heard the cry in the woods have all said that the roar is terrifying.
Do they compare it to anything? I mean, is there anything out there to compare it
I
to?
was trying to remember how they were describing it. It was kind of unique. I can't remember what it was. They were saying it was like a mixture between like a mountain lion and a wolf screaming at the same time. Some people say it sounds like the baying of a hellhound.
Wow.
It's just one of those things. It's just. Here's one. It says the cry is often described as being the combination of a wolf's howl, an elk's bugle, and the laugh of a hyena. Well, that's a weird combo.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Miss Lene had a question for you, DA. I put it up.
What is the oldest reorder event of the Ozarks Howler? The earliest ones I found were from the early 1800s. I can't remember the exact date. I think 1808 was the oldest one. I'd have to look it up. The most recent one within the last 2 years. There was actually a news crew from Arkansas, one of the channels down. I can't remember the name of the town, but they had a daytime sighting of one coming out of the woods, and these people didn't know what it was, and of course they didn't get any pictures of it. But they called the conservation agency. And Arkansas Department of Conservation actually sent people out looking for it, armed.
Wow.
And it made the local news. No one says, what about Davy Crockett? Wasn't Davy Crockett, it was Daniel Boone.
Yeah.
Yeah, Daniel Boone was alleged to have killed one. Paul says, DA, did you know that Smilodon fossils have been found on the Ozarks? Yes, I did know that.
Werewolf said maybe a bull got romantic with a dog.
Poor dog.
Yeah.
Guys, I will be right back. Can you guys spot me for just a second?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Somebody said the older reports from the 1800 are not likely to be any kind of hoax, and I kind of agree with that.
Yeah, that was
Back in the days.
Yeah.
Well, that's we've talked about that going back with like the Dogman. We've heard people say, "Oh, that's because based on people seeing werewolf movies." The Dogman sightings go back to what did we say, the 1700s, Anthony?
Yeah.
In the U.S. on the frontier.
I mean,
Wow.
even the
Same thing with
Bigfoot
Ozarks
sighting.
Howlers. These are like that have been like, and DA said it multiple times that these sightings have been reported back on frontier time. So it's very rare or very unlikely that these are stories that somebody just made up within the past decade.
Even in Florida, the 1800s with the Bigfoot, the swamp ape.
Yep.
They have reports of that. I mean, so where would they come up with these things? Where all of a sudden,
Right.
Well, before we had the modern term Bigfoot. I mean, Bigfoot wasn't coined until the late 50s when those loggers found the huge footprints.
Right.
So before that, nobody had a term for Bigfoot.
No.
But if you look back at newspaper articles from the 1800s, you get all these like wild man attacks and hairy man of the woods,
wild man,
and
feral people.
But before anybody knew what to call them.
Yeah,
There
they
are stories
caught
of them
one in
attacking
Florida.
people.
They actually caught one in Florida back in the 1800s, and it was on record that they took it to the hospital. It was a boy.
Mhm.
And now all of a sudden there's no records on it, but there was accounts of it. Somebody that wrote about it, what they captured. But I mean, that goes way back. You're talking way back. Think about it. Even what who wrote in their journal about it, DA, about cryptids? It was
Teddy Roosevelt wrote
about it.
Mhm.
Also, what Daniel Boone and Davy Crockett wrote about these things.
Mhm.
You know, I mean, come on.
Yeah. Well, have you heard, DA, of, I know, like Southern Missouri, they've talked about the Blue Man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I read a book about Southern Missouri, and that was, it kept popping up, and it was just about the history, but, you know, it was about different towns around, like where you're from, like Douglas County and that area. And there's quite a few different stories in there talking about the Blue Man.
Right.
And it wasn't an alien the way they described it. You know, it was more along the lines of a Bigfoot.
No, I mean, hell, I mean, I'm from New York. Everybody knows that. I mean, everybody, oh, there's alligators in the sewers. Yeah, there was an account of an alligator being in a sewer back in the 80s. But, you know, like I said, there's weirder things in this world. I mean, how would you like to be in the middle of Manhattan going down to fix a steam line and there's a freaking alligator there? You wouldn't expect that.
No.
You know, but it does happen. I mean, really. So there are weirder things in this world that we can't explain what happens, you know.
Yep. Little Patty says maybe Bigfoot mated with the dogman. Heard they were little horny critters.
Yeah. You know, everybody says Dogman's a government experiment. You know, it's everybody has, you know, ideas on it. I don't think in our lifetime we'll ever know. Be honest with you. I mean, really, you know, put it like this: if these things never existed, any of these cryptids, they wouldn't put in Florida Wildlife Management wouldn't put in their brochure, "Don't kill a Bigfoot in Florida."
Right.
Okay, so to me, right there proves that they know something about it, about cryptids.
Well, here's something else I found when I was doing my research on the howler. I was looking for references to the Shunkawarrican. So I
Right.
started looking up Native American dog creatures and things like that, and I ran across this one that I had never heard of before. I just found this one earlier tonight. The first time I'd seen something like this. Let me share my screen because I couldn't get it to let me save the image. But this thing is called the adlet. And I don't think I can blow that up, but you can see the picture.
Yeah,
the adlet are bloodthirsty creatures based in Inuit mythology. They're also known as the Erkiglit. I can't pronounce that. I'm sorry, I can't pronounce it. But the peoples of Greenland and Baffin Island. The werewolf-like in appearance, it's said that they are a result of a union between an Inuit woman and a giant dog.
Right.
Wow.
There's another reference to a Native American version of the dog man.
I was just gonna say, what would be really the difference? Looking at that, kind of looks like a dog man to me.
Exactly. It says, according to the myth, the woman gave birth to 10 children. 5 were dogs and 5 were adlet. They bore the lower halves of a dog's body and the upper halves of a man's body. Terrified, she set 5 of them adrift in the sea. The 5 managed to cross the Arctic and the Atlantic and spawned the European races.
Wow.
The other 5 children that stayed with their mother became ferocious, flesh-eating canine hominids who would attack anyone they encountered. Sounds like a dog man. The adlet and their offspring, also called adlet, now wander the tundra in packs, seeking out Inuit villages to feed on.
World Bigfoot Radio had a good one. Let me see.
In Australia, they have dingo bloke instead of dog man.
But the one in Montana he was talking about.
Yeah, the Shunkawarrican is there in Montana. I talked to William Nighthawk about the Shunkawarrican, and he said that he believed that the Shunkawarekin were somehow related to Dogman. But when you look at those pictures, let me bring up. When you look at the Shunkawarekin, when it's got that weird front joint, you could almost think that thing could stand up and walk on its hind legs.
Yeah.
I mean, its arms would be really oddly spaced, and it almost looks like the way that arm bends, that it's shaped to be like our upper arm. Just a really weird looking creature.
Yeah,
it doesn't look as big though as like the Ozark Howler's been known to, like what you said,
True.
you know.
True, but it's hard to say how big that thing is. There's really nothing there for scale.
I don't know. To me, I guess just looking at the picture, it looks like, you know, size maybe a German Shepherd or something.
Yeah, probably in that ballpark.
Mm-hmm.
But then the Creodont was massive.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Country Boy sent you an email. Country Boy Cryptid.
Hey, he's got a very interesting point here.
What is it?
You know, I've heard of these described, especially in Appalachia. What they refer to as the sheep squatch also appears to have horns.
Yeah, I've heard of that.
Yeah, I have too. Could be a possible explanation for the horns. I mean, I can kind of see where you could get sheep squatch out of that. That thing looks like it could stand up on its hind legs. So is it possible the Howler is a blending of multiple legends that kind of formed into one? But as old as some of these sightings are, I don't really think there was much opportunity for these legends to blend together, because these were early days when the settlers were few and far between. I think this is a different creature unto itself. And if the Howler definitely has horns, as they say, and if it looks anything like this at all, I could see how it could stand up, even short term, like a bear.
Mm-hmm.
If it stood up on its hind legs, that would be very much what people described as a sheep squatch. Thick, often curly hair with backward swept horns like a ram.
Yeah, that creature you just showed, that's pretty scary looking. I wouldn't want to come across that.
Yeah, that's just an artist's rendition, but it to me, that is what I think of when I think of Howler.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty scary.
It's freaking terrifying looking.
Yeah.
And I could see how somebody could look at that, and some might look at it and see cat-like attributes. Because if you look at the nose and the set of the eyes, you can kind of see cat. But then you look at the body and you can kind of see bear. And if it's running like a bear, you can definitely see large canine. But then you've got the horns. Yeah. So I think that's a very good rendition of the Howler.
Mm-hmm. Yep,
and
you too.
Yeah, I think it really ticks all the boxes of the descriptions, because some do say giant cat, some say giant dog / bear,
right?
But they all say it's roughly the size of a bear, and that its howl is terrifying. Now, anything that big with that kind of lung capacity is going to have a powerful call, no matter what the call is. But if that thing makes a howl that, as they described it, similar to an elk's bugle mixed with a wolf's roar, and I can't remember what all it was. As being a combination of a wolf's howl, an elk's bugle, and a laugh of a hyena. If it's a combination of any of those, it's going to carry a long ways, and it's that sound is just going to be horrifying to hear.
Right.
Sorry, trying to catch up with post there.
I'm trying to catch up with it all too.
Northwood says maybe the Ozark Howler is some kind of mix between a dogman and a bison. Maybe, or maybe it's a quadrupedal version of the sheep squatch. I've kind of wondered about the origin of the sheep squatch. That one's been one I've been kind of puzzling to me, because it's described as being as big as a Sasquatch, but the horns is what always threw me off. I had never heard of any other description of a Bigfoot or Bigfoot type creature with horns. Hi, Jessica.
Hey, Jess. Jess is in
T-Pat
the
says kind of looks like a minotaur.
Mhm.
I'm sorry, but I'd like to. I'm going to bring it up, and I'm sorry if anybody gets offended by it, but William, I don't know what question you were referring to, brother.
I can't find the post now.
Is it
Yeah.
when you donated the money? I'm sorry, man. I'm trying to catch up on the post.
Yeah, I'm going back and looking too. That's what I'm doing.
I'm sorry if you got offended by it. Oh, okay. Yeah, the thylacine is living. Okay, yeah. All right. That's the one. I think that's the question he got the info from somebody in Australia about it.
Gotcha.
Tombstone lives in Australia. I wonder what he thinks about that.
Yeah, I'm sorry, William. We're trying to catch up on everything, man. I'm sorry if you took offense to it.
And honestly, sometimes it's hard to see all the comments. They start going
Yeah.
fast and stuff too. So
We're not ignoring you, man. Trust
nope,
me.
it's easy to miss them.
Yeah. I'm trying to catch up while DA's talking.
Yeah, there's a lot of comments.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So if I miss anybody's, please, I'm sorry.
Yeah, and we have no way of knowing which one of us is looking at what comment. So
Right.
a lot of times one of us will click a comment, the other one is clicking the same comment, and it'll, when you see them pop up and close right back up, that's because two of us have clicked on the same comment almost at the same time.
Or different comments.
Yeah, here in Tombstones, he agrees with William on that. He agrees that it's definitely out. Of course, yeah, they're out there. I've seen the pictures. Robbie's seen them. I mean, I don't how they even tried saying it if they can if it was a hoax, and it wasn't. They took it to somebody and they says, "No, that's a real picture." So yeah, there's like we said, you got the howler, you got all that. It could be an offshoot of a wolf. It could be anything like that, like DA is saying. Same as the thylacine. I mean, really, this thing's supposed to be dead over 100 years. So,
Billy Dink says, "What were the Native American accounts of the creatures?" I have not found any Native American stories of specifically the Ozarks Howler. It's all been recorded from like local newspapers and stuff like that of farmers and settlers in the area. But back in those days, you didn't get a whole lot of people that really. And I know this sounds bad, but nobody really looked into the Native American perspective.
no.
And they should have, but they didn't. It's one of those those situations where they didn't value their input. They didn't listen to them. The Native Americans were treated very poorly by settlers that came west.
Look what we did to them. Come on.
Oh yeah,
really. It's a shame what how we treated them. It is.
oh yeah.
I'm trying to catch up on the chat here. Okay, yeah. Steve says over 100 in chat, easy to do. Yes, it is. Trying to get everything straightened out.
Mm-hmm.
We got people popping in. Hey, what's up? She's in the house. Yep. What else? Yeah, I mean, it's
Norman said, could it be something that came with the European settlers? Yeah, a lot of these howlers, the howler mythology could be tied in to the Scottish Cushee, which was a death omen. Of course, you've got the Black Shook, Hellhound, the Native American Shunkawark, and there are a lot of sources that could have contributed to the descriptions of the howler. But considering how old the earliest accountings of the howler are, I don't think that's all of it. I think those might have blended in with stories of the howler, but I think there's something more to it than just people bringing their own legends from the other countries. I think there's legitimately something there, but as to what it is, it's tough to say.
Right. Do you know like what like besides, like you said, Cuba, Missouri, one was seen, but do you know what other parts of Missouri? Like, there's been
There
like,
was
or,
supposedly a sighting near Branson in 2019. In the early part of 2019 or late 2018, there was a sighting near Rolla. A group
oh,
of 4 people out hiking saw one. It's actually close to a buddy of mine's house, and I'm wanting to go up there and go traipsing around that area with him. Hoping to do that, before the weather gets too nasty. Um,
right. That's pretty close, honestly. Like Rolla and Cuba area. My daughter lives over in that area, and my dad, and it's kind of creepy. Hmm.
there's been sightings in northern Arkansas. There's been sightings down in East Texas. There's sightings all throughout the Ozarks region, but the most recent ones, I think, 2019. I think there was one in 2021. I think that was the one in Arkansas that made the news. But the sightings are still happening, and
Yeah.
people still report hearing it baying in the woods at night.
Wow.
If you go out in the Mark Twain go camping, you're going to hear some weird crap at night.
Hmm. Yeah, for sure.
That is just a really bizarre area.
Yeah.
In fact,
I have
wasn't
been
it part of the
camping
Mark Twain where
before.
that hunter went missing?
Um, is that Mark Twain area or is that
I was wondering. That's what I was asking. I'm not for sure.
Yeah, I'm not for sure area either. I thought the Mark Twain area was more like around Eminence area. Am I wrong on
Mark
that?
Twain goes from like up near St. Louis all the way down to almost Arkansas. It's
Okay.
like
So
2.8 or 2.9 million
yeah,
acres of forest land.
yeah. And then there's another area they call like what Ozarks Scenic Railways or Riverways or something like that
Mhm.
too. That
And of course,
is
just across the border in Arkansas, you've got the Ozarks National Forest.
right.
I mean, there's a lot of still heavily timbered area
Yeah,
that's not been developed.
yeah. Have you? I know a lot of people that go down to like Caney Mountain and
Mhm.
that area down there. And I've read about different cryptid sightings and stuff down there too.
Mhm.
So just interesting, you know.
Well, then there's what Annette and I and the boys saw across the road up there by the Big River Horse Ranch.
It just goes to
Uh,
show they're all over,
yeah,
literally all over.
while that thing wasn't dark enough to be a howler, again, I still don't remember seeing a tail,
Yeah,
but it was big.
yeah. But,
I,
but
I
Annette said she's seen a tail,
Yeah,
correct?
she believes she saw
Ah,
the tail. I don't remember. I was locked, laser focused on its eyes.
right,
I felt like it was just staring directly at me, and
right.
it yeah, I would love to have gone back up there. Well, I would like to have gotten out and looked for tracks, but I think I would have gotten, you know, if I wasn't already bald, she would have snatched me bald headed for trying.
You should have called me. I'd come down there too.
I was definitely armed and equipped for the situation. I could have gotten out and started shining flashlights around, but there's a house just like 20 yards farther down the road. They might have wanted to know what I was doing in their cornfield.
Probably so.
World Bigfoot Radio says I'm right next to the Lolo National Forest, over 2 million acres in that one. Yeah, there's still massive tracts of land that have never been cleared off or logged. These national forests, if you look at a Google Maps of North America and look at the satellite view, not the just map view, you will see massive sections of unbroken green that run basically from Canada all the way down to Texas.
Yeah. And that's just I think like all states even, have areas that people have never been in still. I mean, just like cuz like we were just talking about like all these national forests and stuff, I don't know, they're just huge. You think I don't know. Who knows? I think they're good places for creatures to hide in, that's for sure. Be it the Ozark
Lord
Howler,
knows there's plenty
Hog
of. I
Den,
mean,
or whatever.
and look at some of the names of these places. Like just across in Arkansas, you've got Devil's Den State Park.
Right. Right.
And up at Ha Ha Tonka, you've got what is they call the Devil's Kitchen.
Yeah.
There are lots of places that are named like Wild Man Holler or Booger
Mhm.
Canyon or Devil's this or that.
Yeah.
You've got those places got names like that for a reason. It wasn't somebody just
Exactly.
showed up one day and went,
Mhm.
"Man, this is a beautiful area. I think I'm going to call this Demon Creek."
Right. Right. Yeah, there's something that's went on there. You better
Oh,
pay
I agree.
attention. Yep. Yeah, there's a lot of crazy stuff around.
Oh, very much so.
Yeah. And I just think back, when I was a kid and, playing outside in the woods and stuff at night and not a care in the world. And
Oh,
man.
yeah. I grew up running around the woods.
Right. Yep, me too.
Never
Scary
put a
stuff.
single thought into there might be something out there that could hurt you.
Nope, me either.
Well, you didn't think about it back then because you didn't have the internet to look these things up
Right.
and see all this stuff. I mean, it's just, but now it's so readily available, and you see this kind of stuff, and you like,
Yeah, makes you think,
yeah,
for sure. I was always raised and told, it's more dangerous in the city. It's there's the thugs and all that'll get you in the city. You come out to the country, there's nothing out there going to hurt you. Well, do I know now?
Oh, yeah. Well, there were things out there, even without cryptids. There's bears and mountain lions and wolves and coyotes. I mean, there's lots of stuff out there, not to mention snakes. There's lots of things out there that can and will hurt you or kill you that we never even took into consideration. I mean, we used to poke copperheads with sticks. I mean, we were idiots. I mean, it's a miracle none of us didn't get killed.
Yeah.
Northwood says he's heading for bed. Brother, get some rest. It's good to have you.
Oh.
So, when you did your research for the Beast of Blunt Road, how much, what else did you put into the Ozarks Howler that really wasn't there? What was your little sprinkling of your secret sauce, basically, that made it look like a howler, but not really what most people see as a howler?
Well, yeah, to me the real commonality when you're looking at something that could be taken as the howler is the horns. That seems to be that and glowing red eyes. But if you just saw a big black thing in the woods, most people would assume it was a bear. I mean, there are lots of black bear here in southern Missouri now. Now, granted, there didn't used to be. Those were only reintroduced in the late '90s, I think it was.
Yeah, something like that.
A lot of them were released in northern Arkansas, and the populations exploded to the point that a lot of them have moved up into Missouri. So it wasn't Missouri Department of Conservation that released them. Lene says, same here in southern Illinois. I was listening to an Illinois cryptid podcast earlier. They're saying dogmen are the most reported cryptids in Illinois now. I wonder if that's true. It wouldn't surprise me. Dogmen are on the sightings of dogmen are on the rise. So William Nighthawk posted, "Hey brother, thank you for being here, man." Steve Penn says, "Just remember where your PT belt." Yeah, that's a whole army joke. Yeah, you've got to wear your PT belt or you're not safe. Eli Harrison says there's a rock formation in a wildlife preserve in my area called the Devil's Breakfast Table. If you look at some of the old maps of not just Missouri, like all over the country, if you look at old maps like county plat maps and stuff, they're just loaded with places like Wildman Creek and Devil's Breakfast Table. There's literally thousands of places all over the country that have been named for stuff like that, and it makes you really wonder why. I mean, they just toss that name out on a lark. Chris M says, DA, on one of your shows you talked about the Black Pyramid in Alaska. I can't find much about it online. Could you elaborate on it? There's a couple of documentaries on the History Channel that talk about it in more detail than I really know. It's just something we kind of touched on. Supposedly under one of the mountains in Alaska, there's claimed to be a massive alien pyramid of alien origin. It's completely black and it's inside a hollow mountain. You can find the documentary on that, and it's pretty interesting watching. But it goes more into UFOs than I normally go into. Ufology and UFOs and things like that are really not normally my cup of tea. But it is pretty interesting. If I can locate the episode, I'll post it in the chat. Billy Dink says, yeah, Lene, my friend Lee Hampel, an old math teacher, has his farm in southern Wisconsin, his dogman sightings. Linda Godfrey investigated there. Yeah, recently we just a couple of days ago lost Linda Godfrey. She was kind of the godmother of the dogman phenomenon. And it's a big loss to the cryptozoology community to lose her. I never got to meet her. I would love to have. I was hoping to get her on the show, but she's been sick for the last few years. And it was really, real sad to hear of her loss, of losing her.
I agree.
Judy McKee Smith says the rivers here in Alabama have many places that have not been explored a lot. There are places in the Mark Twain I doubt anybody's been in 50 to 100 years, if even then. Some of the deep valleys of the Ozarks, I don't know when the last time someone actually set foot in them.
Yeah.
Sorry, trying to catch up on comments again. John Doe says, I wouldn't consider anything put out by the History Channel to be particularly reliable. No, you're not wrong. Let me see if I can locate that Black Pyramid documentary.
Somebody wants to know, DA, where they can get a shirt like yours. Says, DA, I love that shirt.
I got this on Amazon. Just Google Bigfoot Hawaiian shirt, and you'll find a whole bunch of them. Who was it that asked about the Black Pyramid? The Black Pyramid in Alaska.
Chris M.
Okay, I found a link to it's on Apple TV. You could probably Google the name of that documentary and find it on another service. But I just posted it. And that's one of the episodes that I found on it. It's pretty interesting viewing. It's not necessarily anything that I'm that into because UFOs really aren't my thing. But it's an interesting watch. I remember watching it a couple of times. But if you get your tinfoil hat, you're going to go down the rabbit hole with this one. I can't say if there's any corroborating proof that it's there, but it's certainly an interesting story. Little Patty says, I remember as a kid, my mom sending me up on our mountain for ginseng and ground ivy, and my mama telling me never go past the first plateau where the big hairy boogeyman will get me. Yep. They around the Ozarks, they referred to it as, well, of course, in 1972 you had the Momo, the monster stories, but there's all kinds of wild men stories that floated around and the hairy man of the woods and wood boogers or boogers sometimes. There's lots of different words for what people referred to as wild men that lived out in the woods.
Yeah, my great grandparents always said boogers, so don't go out there too far in the woods or the boogers will get you.
Lene says, question, any more plans made for a big campground gathering, all of us folks, next spring? I'm still looking for a place that would actually accommodate all of us. Maybe we could do it at the horse ranch.
I'm sure I could I know someone who knows someone.
As Carrie will say, I know a guy.
Yeah, you just got to tell me dates you're interested in, and I'll give Marlon a call.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll check that out, and because there's quite a few camp spots there. Yeah,
I think. Let me think about this. There are, with electric and water, I believe there's 27 campsites with electric and water, unlimited primitive, and then 5 bunk rooms.
Well, nice since you got a camper.
Perfect. Electric and water, and there are a couple with full hookups with sewer, but there's only a couple of those. So.
Well, we already know we got a good place for a big bonfire.
Yeah, I think that would be fun for outside of what we all have planned, but do something with others out there. That would be a good time.
I think so too. That'd be a lot of fun. See if we could call something up and tell stories and just have a good old time.
Yep.
when we get everybody, get a chance to get everybody together, we'll toss around some ideas for a date and maybe see about getting a booking on that. So
Yep.
we'll let you know, Lene. We will
Yeah.
definitely be looking into possible dates for that.
Just remember, sooner the better, because they do book up for weddings and stuff out there. So
I had something else I was going to say. Completely lost my train of thought. I hate it when I do that.
I do that too all the time.
Chris Sims says, I was late to the show, so I may have missed it, but the recent hunter that went missing and was found deceased in Missouri, David Paulides covered it too, which is unusual. What do you all think? I think there's a lot more to that than we're being told.
I absolutely agree. 110%.
Because the first thing when they started looking for the guy, the first thing they found was the guy's weapon and a large quantity of blood, which they assumed was deer blood.
Right.
Which
They never
makes
even tested the
zero
blood.
sense.
Yeah. Why wouldn't you test the blood?
Right.
You were
a
a police officer. Robbie's a police officer. Wouldn't that be the first thing you would they would do?
Oh yeah.
The first thing I would assume that it was the victim's blood. Yeah, there's no way I would think it was a deer because no deer hunter ever is going to throw their gun down and try to track a wounded deer.
Exactly.
That's what would make me think it was his blood because it was his gun beside it. The animal would never enter my train of thought at that point.
Right.
Well,
yeah, it's crazy.
I
He says old age DA. Well, you ain't wrong.
Same thing with the Amazon deal. We'll never know any more about that. They haven't even released the name of that person.
Or the necropsy on the dogs.
No. So what does that tell you?
It tells me they didn't find any human tissue in those dogs' stomachs.
I agree. Yep.
So
they found that missing hunter?
Yeah, they found him it was like the following day. They won't release the condition of the body. They said he died of exposure, but the guy was dressed for deer hunting, and it didn't drop below freezing the night he was gone.
Right.
So you can't tell me he died of exposure.
So where did all the blood come from?
Exactly.
They won't say.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Lene wants to know if there's any stories to share about the Ozark Howler. Do you know of any?
The story that happened up in Rolla is there was two couples. They were all young, early 20s, and they went. There's a trail outside of Rolla, like a nature trail, and they went to walk on this trail. And I guess it was dark out. It was sometime around 10 or 11 o'clock. And as they were walking, they heard it let out its howl.
Mm-hmm.
But they were freaking out, didn't know what it was. And as they were starting to try to make their way back to their vehicle, this thing walked out on the trail and looked at them, and they described it as basically being a large black creature with horns and had glowing red eyes. And before any of them could really react, it bounded off into the woods. They didn't get any pictures of it. Of course, I imagine they were probably pretty terrified. Steve Haddon says probably because they were probably told not to. Mm-hmm. You're probably right.
Yeah.
But then the one that they saw down in Branson, they actually caught a glimpse of it on a trail cam. Not a full-on picture, but they caught a shape of something. And they had a animal expert that works for the that roadside attraction outside Stratford, Missouri, that used to be called Exotic Animal Paradise. It's called something else now, but they've got tigers and
yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Well, they had one of the animal experts from there come down and look at the footage, and he didn't know what the hell it was. He's like, wow. I've never seen something like that. I don't know what that is. So yeah, I watched the video on that. But there's the most recent sightings. Of course, the one they saw down near Branson, I don't think was as big. They were thinking wolf size on that. It wasn't massive.
William, I don't know if you were listening, man. I did not see your comment, man, so we apologize on that. We do.
I'm sorry if we're not reading your comments, man.
Yeah, man. Sorry. So
there's a bunch of them that come through, and you just can't catch them all, and that's the truth.
I said it earlier. If you asked anybody in chat, I did apologize. So if you're upset, again, sorry, man.
Yeah, man, that is not intentional.
Mm-mm.
No issue whatsoever, man. Shit, lost my train of thought. Um, Sorry, I'm drawing a blank there for a second. Steve Patton says Missouri Department of Conservation are extremely hush-hush about strange critters. When we saw a black panther kill my cousin's coon dog, they told us straight to our face that we were wrong, that we didn't see what we saw. World Bigfoot Radio says, I covered the fact that one of the tribes of giants here in North America apparently had horns. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Oh, sorry.
Get attacked by my microphone. Sorry.
Yeah.
World Bigfoot Radio, he asked. Well, he was telling us, he covered the fact on the tribe. Of giants here in North America apparently had horns. He was doing a show on it.
Seemed like I remember something about that. I can't remember. Was it something like almost like a Bigfoot type creature that they said had the horns, or was it something totally different? Am I mixing two different shows?
Yeah, I don't know what he meant by that. They covered the facts of the tribe with giant horns. I don't know which one he was talking about. What do you mean on that World Bigfoot Radio? I'm sorry, but I have to put this up so he doesn't get hurt again. I'm sorry. He always pays comments and don't miss them. Good night. Good night, William. Sorry that you feel that way. Oh, they found skulls.
Yeah, I was just reading that too.
All right, here. They found skulls from a picture. Okay, still we found them. Otherwise, like a giant human skull. Oh, okay. That's crazy.
So the skulls had horns, or they were just giant skulls?
I don't know.
Somebody made the comment that their neighbor saw a skinwalker in the looks like Idaho Panhandle in September. Do you think some of these creatures get misidentified and they just call them skinwalkers because they don't know what they are? Or
could be. I mean, sometimes people toss the name skinwalker on pretty much anything.
Right.
I don't know. A lot of stuff's been going on. Oh, John, he's home. Yeah, he just got home a little bit ago.
There's another link to a different episode of that with the Alaskan Black Triangle.
I'll have to check that out myself.
Yeah, a lot of these things goes back to like we've talked about before, that all this stuff has really just started kind of coming back to the forefront again. With some of the stuff we talked about in CERN with the collider and all that stuff. Because, you didn't hear this stuff, 15? I mean, you did, but not as prevalent as it is right now. So, it's just like that. What we say, that veil is just, instead of being slowly peeled back, it's kind of got a quick jerk to it,
Yeah.
and there's just a lot more stuff
Right.
that's coming to life right now that that hasn't been recently.
Yep. And you know what? That's the thing. Like even with the paranormal, what I do, there was a time when nobody talked about it. It was all hush hush, and same thing with the cryptid world. Why? Is it because all these TV shows that have come out recently, or you know what I'm saying? Is it something that's cool thing to do, or what?
But you can also say that about the TV shows. Why are all the TV shows coming out, and why are they all so popular all of a sudden?
Yeah, it's a good point. Yep.
I think it's because more and more people, like we've said before, more people are going out in the woods. More people are, pushing that, going to that raggedy edge, or the hairy fringe, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, that's true.
Then we had that whole time during COVID when not many people were going out. So, they're moving in closer. Then all of a sudden here we come back out and then,
Yeah.
Little Patty said, DA question, how long have you been researching cryptids? I first started getting into everything I could find on Bigfoot when I was still a kid. So I would say since 1976 is when I started really digging into cryptids. I read everything I could get my hands on. Then once I was old enough to drive, I was going out in the woods and going to places and asking people I knew, any stories, and collecting Ozarks folklore. So I would say easily 40 years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think you might be onto something there, Robbie. We are digging. We are, as we're building more and more houses, we're encroaching on more habitat.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, like I was saying, we started seeing here in the city of Springfield alone on Ring doorbell cameras. They're seeing mountain lions and bears in town, and it's the greater metropolitan Springfield area is 250,000 people. I know that's not huge by like New York or LA standards, but for the Ozarks that's surrounded with woods, that's a lot of people concentrated in one area. And for us to be having bears and mountain lions coming in around that many people, I think part of it is they're starting to lose their fear of us.
Yeah. And, credit do. That's not totally my theory. That's something DA Anthony and I've talked about several times on different shows, and that's something we all have speculated on. And I thought, because DA said it many times many times about the Black Plague of the 21st century. And, it's just when you get that, you've seen all these, and I know what John Doe says about these documentaries, and I'm not saying that, but you've seen plenty of them about what happens if humanity is taken down or how it does not take nature long to take back over an area. So if you're out of an area for an extended period of time, say 2 years for this, it doesn't take nature long to move back into that area and get rolling again. And then all of a sudden, everything's good. We can go back out and mess around in the woods and places like that again. Then all of a sudden, there we are back there, right on top of them again. And that's regular animals that we know exist versus, and it puts you right back in the mix with them.
Yeah, Mark was saying there were bears walking down the street in Gatlinburg, Tennessee all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I went up to Cades Cove and stepped out of the car and literally been within 15 feet of a black bear.
I mean, hell, we got black bears here at the house. I mean, in the driveway, one jumped over the fence into the back. I mean, we get it every so often, man. So, we're not in a rural area where I am. So, they're used to being around humans so much.
Well, it's like DA said, once they start losing their fear, whether they get, whether it's they've lost their fear or they start seeing us as a food source or as a source of food, whether we're feeding them or they're saying, that looks good. Once stuff like that starts happening and they start getting desensitized to us, that's when things like that start rising up. Just like DA's talking about with the animals on the Ring doorbells coming in because they lose their natural fear And at that point, it's just
Warble 5674 says, I know we all hate this statement, but I've spent my whole life out in the woods and hunting. I've never seen anything. The only thing that was ever terrified me was a screech owl. Screech owls will scare the crap out of you. They make it, especially if you don't know what it is. If someone has never heard one before,
Yeah.
I could see how they would think that was something, demonic or even possibly cryptid related. But, we do get that comment a lot. I know lots of people that have hunted their entire lives and never had anything like that happen. But then you've got cases like Anthony. Anthony, you grew up with a gun in your hand, and until you saw that one, you didn't even believe in him.
No, I thought it was a joke. Seriously, I used to laugh at people.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be like, "Oh, you're all crazy," and it's just happened to be. So.
Tombstone says the salties, meaning saltwater crocodiles here, as well as the dingoes, have lost their fear of us. Not the best situation. And that's how you get wild dogs taking kids.
Yep.
Yeah, I watched it. There's a show on YouTube. This guy hunts dingoes, and that's all he does. And I watched his show once in a while, and you wouldn't believe. Yeah, they take infants. A pack of them will take down cattle. I mean, it's crazy what they're doing over there. I was like,
oh yeah,
they're not big dogs either.
No, it's the same thing with coyotes here. I mean, coyotes. When you get a population of coyotes that explode, they'll take down large livestock.
Mm-hmm.
That's why there was a bounty on them for the longest time here in Missouri. I mean,
Yeah.
You can make pretty good money on a weekend going out and using predator call to call them in. Chris M says the howls were on the Illinois side around dusk on the river bottoms. Definitely not coyote. Wondering where those dogmen reports are coming from. Yeah, it could have been. The howls that you're hearing in the river bottoms could be a dogman. It could be a howler. There are a lot of things out there that can make really weird sounds. Hell, foxes will freak you out. If you've ever heard some of the ruckus that a fox could raise, you wouldn't think something that small could make a noise that blood curdling. Of course, then I remember once I was up in Rocky Mountain National, and my buddies woke me up, and they're like, "Man, there's a Bigfoot out here." And I crawled out, and they're like, "Can you hear it?" And it was just an elk bugling. I'm like, "You morons have never heard an elk bugle before." If you don't know what it is, that's one of the things I try to state and restate. If you're going to be doing cryptid hunting in any area, you need to be familiar with all the noises that can be made by the local fauna, because it's easy, if you're not experienced, to mistake one for the other. And I'm not saying that there aren't cryptids out there. I definitely believe they're out there. I know they're out there. But you could easily mistake a screech owl or a fox, or hell, you could hear the rackets that raccoons make. You could easily mistake a noise of something that's natural for something that's not.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not going to lie. The first time I heard a deer snort, a buck snort, I was like, that freaked me out. I didn't know what it was at first, but it's just a deer. So yeah, I agree with you. You need to know the sounds before you go out.
Oh yeah, definitely do your research on the area, and you can Google and go on YouTube and listen to the recordings that people have made of coyotes howling and the different fox calls and predator calls. So you can actually find places. And a lot of universities have collections of sound bites that are of wild animals.
Mm-hmm.
You can research those pretty easily, but you definitely want to be familiar with the noises that you should be expecting to hear in an area, especially if you're not familiar with that area. I mean, I grew up hunting and fishing in the woods of the Ozarks, but if I get down in Florida and go out with Anthony, it's all whole new set of animals out there that I'm not familiar with.
It's a big difference than up north, I can tell you that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And if you come down during a rainy season, you better get a pair of waders with you. That's all I got to tell you. Because it does get wet and swampy out here. I mean, some areas will flood.
World Bigfoot says, I may have got a dogman on video in September, about 20 feet away. Currently working on a breakdown. There seems to be several of the cryptids in the same video. Dude, when you get that breakdown video, let me know. I would love to check it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be awesome if it. Yeah, that would be.
Uh, I was just getting ready to do that. Chris M says this was big. We were exploring the low Mississippi River on the Missouri side. Howl came from the Illinois side. Howler's a possibility. Never thought of it. Could have been a Bigfoot. Could have been a dog man. Just on the edge of St. Louis, there's half a dozen dog man sightings just on the edge of St. Louis, and that's a major city. There are dogman sighting reports that from downtown LA where people have seen them rummaging through trash cans. They believe they were coming in through the sewers and through the LA Lake River basin. So, just because you're in or near a big city doesn't mean you can't run into a cryptid or hear one.
I know just around me, and I'm in St. Charles County in Missouri, and I've heard of dogman sighting in Warren County. And then I also read of one where actually the one wasn't too far from me. So, and it's along the river.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I'm like literally like probably 6 or 7 minutes into a huge metropolitan area,
Well, it's not far from there. There's so many sightings around Hannibal, Missouri. They call it the Hound of Hannibal. There's a lot of dogman sightings in and around that area, and some down near Herman, Missouri. But that's along the Missouri River corridor, which runs right by the Big River Horse Ranch, right up that area where the Amazon driver was killed. So there's a lot of weirdness going on along the major river systems. And we've been saying for a long time that cryptids, specifically Bigfoot and Dogman, probably use rivers as like a highway, because even unless you're going through a major town, the banks of both along rivers are usually pretty heavily grown up.
Yeah. Well, especially like some of these rivers, and I kind of wonder about that, because do they just walk along the banks of them, kind of in and out? Because like going across. If you notice the Missouri River, the Mississippi River, they're pretty swift. It's not something that you want to go swim across,
Right.
So it just kind of makes me wonder,
Mark Napier says if Dogman ever begins to see the homeless as a food source, LA will be a killing field. You're not wrong.
We've talked about that plenty of times before, about the transient population and how nobody's there to report them if they go missing. And
right.
I don't think anybody really cares over there. That's the whole point.
It's the same with law enforcement everywhere. If somebody reports a homeless person missing, it's not that we're just being dismissive, but if somebody doesn't have a permanent address and it's a transient population, one, you can't track them because they don't want to be tracked. And two, how do you got nothing to prove that they didn't just pack up their stuff and move on?
Right.
Yeah.
There's a large reservoir out north of Springfield called Fellows Lake. It belongs to City Utilities of Springfield, and they use it as a major reservoir for water for Springfield. It's got a pipe system that runs all the way up to Lake Pomme de Terre, where they pump more water in as needed for the city of Springfield. When I was working security years ago, back before I went into law enforcement, I was just working overnight security, making ends meet, working in a factory during the day. But I've worked overnight security, and we patrolled that lake. And at the time, that area just east of that lake was a area of woods that was a massive homeless shelter. There were probably 100 people out there. And
that's a lot.
I just went out there a month or so ago, driving around with the wife and one of my boys, and we drove over to that area, and it was gone. Not a sign that had even been there.
Really?
Which is really weird to me, because that area was thick woods, had a abundant water source, and it wasn't far from town. It's weird. It's weird that whole camp would just be gone.
So the woods were gone totally, or they just
not the woods, the homeless camp.
Wow.
Not a one down there. Steve Padden says, when I worked county and I had to go down by the river, I've seen a lot of odd prints and huge deer prints. You sure they weren't elk prints?
Yeah, it could have been elk. Like, up here by me, we have they call them the rainbow people. Mm-hmm. They're like, I don't know what you want to call them. I call them spaced out space cadets, but they live in the Ocala National Forest. They camp out. They whatever they do, their drugs or whatever. But we have a big population of them here. I know we were having problems with that, and hunters were complaining because the guy be in a tree stand, and next thing you know, there'd be 4 people walking in the middle of nowhere. You know, you're like miles and miles in the woods, and these people would just pop up anywhere. You know, we had that problem here for a long time. They're leftover hippies, Uncle John says. Yeah.
Billy Dink said he missed the story about the Amazon driver. Yeah, that story made national news. We'll do a quick recap on that. It's in Ray County, Missouri, wasn't it, Krista?
Yes. Outside of between I don't know if they know the area or not, but it's between Richmond, Missouri, and Excelsior Springs, Missouri.
The closest big city would be Kansas City, but it's still quite a ways from Kansas City.
Yeah.
But the area is very thickly wooded. It's very rural. I was just up there in September. I can tell you it's a pretty thickly wooded area. But initially they blamed these families' dogs for allegedly mauling this Amazon driver to death. But the thing is, you know, can't give out the source, friend of a friend kind of thing. But allegedly the Ray County coroner had never seen damage to a human body that extensive. To me, right there, that says that's not domestic dogs. The deputies entered the home and killed the dogs on the scene, but they have never released the necropsy of whether or not there was tissue in the dogs' bodies. One of the dogs was a Mastiff, and I've owned Mastiffs. Those are generally the laziest dogs on the planet. They're great dogs, love them to death. My boys used to use ours as a pillow and watch Saturday morning cartoons. Those dogs are too lazy to be aggressive. Just fantastic dogs, very good tempered. The other one was a German Shepherd. Now, German Shepherds will get pretty dang territorial, and I could see how the Mastiff might have balked at somebody coming on the property. But Amazon drivers, if there's dogs, they generally won't enter the fence. They'll just set the package down either on the inside of the fence or outside the gate, and they're gone.
Oh,
Amazon
hell,
drivers
even
don't stick around.
Yeah, even with the UPS driver and the FedEx this week,
Right.
I had stuff delivered. I mean, we got 3 pit bulls here, and they don't. You know, are they aggressive? No, but they do protect their property, and they'll let you know if somebody's walking up. You know, they don't growl; they just bark like crazy. But they were dropping packages over the fence. They were running back to their truck.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like, you know, you got to be stupid to walk in somebody's yard with 2 giant dogs in it and be like, "Hey, what's going on, guys?"
Well, like Letitia just said, you know, dogs always get blamed. And they do.
Right.
Yeah.
And
That's the easiest thing to do or to blame is the dogs.
You know, we all have pit bulls. DA has one. Robbie has one. Krista you owned one at one time, didn't you?
My grand dog is a pit bull, but
Right.
I do have an English Mastiff right now.
Right. So we all know, and they're from the pit bull family, the bully family. Well,
A bull mastiff is a crossbreed of a English mastiff and an English bulldog.
Right. So, I mean, we all know how they act with us and other people that we know.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, if you raise them that way, they're going to be that way. If you beat a dog senseless and train it to fight, yeah, I wouldn't want to be in the same room as it.
Yeah. Well, I agree with you as far as like the pit bulls, because my daughter has a pit bull and she has the Saint Bernard, and the Saint Bernard looks all lovey and cuddly.
They're nasty.
I tell you what, he would rip you a new butt.
Yeah. My sister had
and that
one.
pit bull of hers loves everybody, every animal.
Yeah.
Terrible watchdog.
You know what? I've been around.
Harley's a great watchdog. He'd watch him steal everything in the house.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, I've been around. I can't tell you how many pit bulls.
If they found human DNA on the dogs, and not to my knowledge, they haven't released anything like that. They haven't released it, correct, DA?
No.
Mm-hmm.
What was that?
Well, you know, it's just.
I'm not, you know, never mind. Let me just stop.
Yeah, I'm not even going to dignify that with the answer. I've spent way more time in the woods than anybody realizes. So, you know, fine. You want to be that way? We'll just block you.
Yep. See ya. Nice knowing you.
Don't let the doorknob hit you on the way out.
Yeah. I was trying to be nice, and I said it in the comments to the guys, and I'm not anymore.
I'm going to address it one time and one time only. We addressed anytime he posted a super chat, we read it. The only super chat he posted earlier wasn't even a question. It was a comment, and Anthony read it, and I made the comment based off of it that Tombstone lives in Australia. Maybe we should ask him.
Right.
So yes, we did. We did read his comment. I don't know what his problem is, but
Right.
bye.
And every time he's posted a super chat, I've been religiously tried to get that posted up there just so it can be seen. So
believe me, we're not asking for people. We're not asking for money. We don't ask people for money. Okay, we don't go begging like I'm not going to other shows out there that ask for money and donations. We don't do that here. Okay, so when you come across that way like that, that's not called for, man.
I totally agree.
Yep.
And when we've got 120 people watching and the comments are flying, I'm missing a lot of comments.
Exactly.
Well, yeah, I can't tell you how many of our moderators have sent me a message asking me if I was okay because I wasn't talking. It's because I'm trying to watch comments because y'all are talking about something. I'm trying to watch comments so I can put stuff up.
Hey, Sentinel's in the house. What's up, man?
Wild Bunch. What's up, Wild Bunch?
What's up, Robert?
Sorry to get off the subject. That just bothered me.
I apologize. That last comment just pissed me off.
He got
don't pretend to know
because I don't even
how
have
much time I spend out the woods.
Yeah.
World Bigfoot Radio even said it. He says I don't even have super chat on my channel. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. Anyway, good night, William. Are you going to bed?
Good night, William.
I never asked how he was feeling.
I was texting him the other day. I hope he's doing better.
Yeah.
William, shoot me a message. I'd love to catch up with you, brother. Sentinel, how you doing, brother?
I didn't mean you.
How's the new house?
I didn't mean you, William, when I made that comment.
Yeah, wrong William.
No. Believe me, if I had millions of dollars, I would send you $2 million, brother, just to get you better. Really.
Right. Thank you, Billy. Appreciate you, brother.
What do you put?
Thanks, Billy.
This is your anti-troll contribution.
Yeah, that's funny.
That was nice.
Mark Napier says if there are a lot of people in the chat, it's like drinking from a fire hose.
Yeah.
You're not wrong. Sometimes I will read one comment and then I'll be behind like 12.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, I'll see a comment and go to click on it to put it up there, and by the time I can get my mouse on it and click it, I've clicked on 2 comments below it.
Right.
Because it's gone by so fast.
Yep.
Country Boy says the best. It's always,
Yep.
in the crowd. Oh, but yeah, anyway, yeah, they had, whatchamacallit? I don't even know what we were talking about right now.
Getting back to the dogs, we were talking about dogs.
Yeah, I mean, we got the pit bull. I mean, I know how they act, like I said to you.
I've got a pit. I've been around a lot of pits, but I'm going to tell you the meanest dogs I've ever been around are chows. You don't hear much about them anymore, but
that's true.
Those dogs scare me more than any other kind of dogs.
Chows and chihuahuas.
Yeah, Chihuahuas are nasty, man.
I am not a Chihuahua fan. Oh, no, thank you.
Chihuahuas are nasty. You know what what's nastier are schnauzers.
I've never seen a bad schnauzer. Chihuahua.
How about a poodle? You ever see a nasty poodle?
No, my aunt had 2 of the meanest dang poodles I've ever seen.
Let me tell you,
the only people they liked were her.
I know the Germans, and if I'm wrong, John Doe, you could correct me. The Germans used standard poodles as attack dogs back in the day.
Wow.
And those were the full-grown poodles. I know they used Dobermans and German Shepherds, but I know that the poodles, they used them for attack dogs and guard dogs. That's how nasty they were. So.
I've had a couple poodles, and mine have always been nice. So I guess I just got lucky and got good ones.
Never had a bad experience with a pit bull. I've owned a couple of them. Even my uncle's pit bull Gage, he's about 115, 120 pounds. big pussycat.
Mhm.
You know, could he be nasty? Yeah, I'm sure they can. I'm sure he can be if he wants to.
You know, the point in all this is if it had been the dogs, like they were saying, there should have been something that went out to corroborate that.
Yeah.
Right.
The simple
And
fact
they haven't released any of the information.
yeah, the simple fact that because that should have been a cut and dry. Dogs are dead. Take them in. Do the necropsy. Bang. Yeah. Human
And why
remains in the
won't
dog.
they release it? That's my question. I'm sure, you know what, they probably did do it. They're just not releasing it.
Right.
Thank you, Lene. Another anti-troll donation.
Yeah, I see
Thank you,
that.
Lene.
Thank you, Miss Lene.
That's funny.
Sorry, I was looking for something.
Yeah, my buddy had 2 Jack Russells. Do you ever see Jack Russells take down a wild pig before?
I have not.
I have.
I know they can get
Wow.
pretty aggressive.
2 Jack Russells. We were at this competition's here in Florida. I think they happen in Georgia and Carolina too. It's called a bay and catch competition. And they'll bring in wild pigs and you bring your dogs into an arena and they score your dog on catching and baying. So we go to this competition and we entered 2 of our dogs and our buddy Mike comes walking in with these 2 Jack Russells under his arm. I'm like, what is he doing? And he drops these dogs down in this pit. And these dogs went to tearing this pig apart. These 2 little Jack Russells. I was like, what the hell? They caught a wild pig. Yeah, everybody was laughing, but when it was over, nobody was laughing after that. But
I would imagine not.
yeah,
Crazy.
That's like the joke of the guy walks into the bar and says, "I'll give anybody $100 if they can beat my dog up, and a little beat dog about this, little yellow dog." The big old guy.
Oh, I've heard that one.
Yeah, I'll take it bet. He goes over and smacks the dog in the face, and the dog rips his arm off. And another guy says, "Man, what in the world kind of dog is that?" He said, "I don't know, but he was an alligator before I chopped his tail off and painted him yellow."
yeah, I know they use Jack Russells for hunting for rodents and I think weasels and stuff like that. I know that. So yeah, they are pretty aggressive when it comes to hunting.
I thought
But a
that
wild
was
pig that weighs
originally bred to be like
250
squirrel
pounds?
dogs at one
Yeah,
point.
250-pound pig with 2 little Jack Russells. That blew my mind. So, with cutters, this thing had some cutters sticking out, and they were wild, man. I mean, wasn't a domesticated pig.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've seen
They,
some crazy stuff when I used to hunt.
Wild
But
hogs can get freaky.
I was gonna say, Letitia's asking a question if someone already asked, but
Where
what
was
was it? Yeah,
There it is.
I don't believe that the dog's owners were home when
No,
this
they were
happened.
supposedly on vacation, and the neighbors
Yeah.
were taking care of the dogs for them.
Yeah, and the dogs, I believe when help arrived or whatever, the dogs were inside, if I'm correct.
Yeah, the deputy entered the house and killed the dogs
Well, I think there was some
because they were
speculation.
acting aggressive.
I think
Yeah.
there was some speculation at one point they might have been out in the yard when they first arrived, and then
Something
went
like
into
that.
the house, and then they went in the house and shot them. But there's like 2 or 3 different stories about
Yeah,
where the dogs actually were when it.
right.
Whether they were inside or outside, they still haven't released any of the necropsy details.
Yeah,
No, they won't.
And if they had found human tissue in those dogs' stomach, they would have paraded that around like the Holy Grail.
Mhm.
Like,
Yep.
see, it was the dogs. See, it was the
We're
dogs.
right.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
since that hasn't happened, and it's been weeks, leads me to believe
Exactly.
that there was nothing in the dogs. So
Mhm.
now they're like, well, what do we say?
Right, because if there was,
Hey, thanks, Robert.
Dude, thanks, man.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Sentinel.
very cool, Robert.
Appreciate you, brother.
I guess
I
Miss
wonder-
Lene said it. We're starting a trend here. But anyway, thanks.
I wonder if you could use dogs to track cryptids, or at least to react when you've got them in the area.
You know,
Well,
I've heard of people using them for the paranormal. Why couldn't they?
I don't know why you couldn't.
Well, that's what they did.
I mean, if the dog's like, if you got a dog that's normally brave and he's tucking tail and wanting to get in the truck, I'd say that's a pretty big indicator you've got a really big.
Well, they did that in the Legend of Boggy Creek. You know, that's what they talked about. Brought in all these high dollar hog and bear dogs, and you know, maybe a hog dog you might get, but you bring a bear dog in and it starts tucking tail, don't want to track.
Yeah,
that ought to tell you something. If it got a dog that's used to chasing a bear.
Well, yeah, it's in the missing 411 cases where the dogs refuse to track.
Right.
And those are dogs that are bred to track people. So they're finding something there that they want no part of, and that is not normal.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, if your dog don't track and you know you have a good tracking dog, you better pay attention to your dog.
Well,
absolutely. Well, the thing is, if you've got a coon dog or if you've got a human tracking dog, you know, people that dogs that track missing people, you've got to have something with that scent on it to train the dog. That's how you track. You know, that's how you train coon dogs. That's how you train. Dogs that'll chase deer. There are people that still run deer with dogs.
Yeah.
It's more common out in Appalachia than it is around here. But
we do it here.
There are people that hunt. But there are people that hunt deer. You've got to train them with a deer hide on how to track that scent. There are no examples of cryptid hides that we can get to train these dogs. You've got to start these dogs at a young age to get them to be not afraid of that scent. So if you don't have something with that scent on it, they're not going to know what that scent is and be absolutely terrified.
Yep.
Thanks. I appreciate that. Oh man.
Lene says, whenever large cats and coyotes are near, my dogs won't get off our porch. That's a great indicator you've got a predator in the area.
Yep.
World Bigfoot Radio says, dogs do react when Bigfoot are around. The dog will tuck his tail and hide between your legs and pee on himself. Again, a great indicator. Even if all the dog does is alert you to its presence, it's good thing to have around.
That's true. When I had my English Mastiff was with me when I had my encounter out there at Big River Ranch with Bigfoot, and my dog doesn't growl and he loves everybody, and that was the first time we ever heard him growl.
That's a good comment by John Doe.
Yeah, there are a lot of stories of Bigfoot that'll go after, especially barking dogs.
Yeah.
Tim Coonbo Baker told a story when his German Shepherd had puppies. He had one room in his house that he had set up just for the dog with the puppies, and he would go out and find the grass all mashed down outside the window of that room where it had been trying to get in the window to steal the puppies.
There were several people in the Boggy Creek film that talked about getting dogs killed.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, Fred from Alaska, two of his stories, man. I mean, Bigfoot threw the dog against a tree, and the guy watched it. The other one, he killed it, ripped its head off. I mean,
there was a story out of East Texas where a Bigfoot grabbed a hog by its hind legs and smashed it against a tree, then threw it over its shoulder and carried it off. If it can do that to a hog, it can do it to a dog.
Yeah. So I mean, and then there's other stories like John Doe. There's peaceful interactions with dogs with Bigfoot and stuff like that. But it's like anything else in this world. There's good humans and bad humans. Same as Bigfoot, I guess. So. Yeah, I was the Walking Dead back. Yeah, when I had COVID. Oh, I literally. DA will tell you, and Robbie, I did not feel good. John will tell you too, firsthand. I did not want to know nobody from nothing.
Yeah, you were MIA.
Oh, I was so sick. You have no idea. After I got over COVID, my stomach was it was upset for almost 3 weeks. I couldn't eat. Could not eat. Yeah.
That's awful.
John was the same way. We're finally getting over it. I mean, now we can eat. I can't eat like I used to anymore. I mean, he was just as bad as me.
Wow. Crazy.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you're better.
Oh, I am. I'm much better. So is he. It's like, I didn't. I was hating life. I was
Yeah.
hating life.
Avi May says Paulsboro, Washington 911 caller had his shepherd killed by a Sasquatch.
Yeah, I think I
Well,
heard
Bigfoot
that.
Radio says I know people who have dogs. The Bigfoot actually play with. None of those dogs bark at them.
Right. I've heard stories of that too. Yeah, I've heard that.
Yeah, John Doe has a good point. They're taking out an alarm system.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, look what they're doing to my buddy's place.
Hmm.
Knocking motion lights off. Like we talked about, they know where that sensor is when it hits with the eye. And during the day they're just ripping they're ripping the lights off the house, so there's no lights in the back.
Mm-hmm.
So it's crazy.
Well, and we've talked about and heard stories about them being, because their senses are obviously way more heightened than ours.
Yeah.
So if you got a dog that's barking, whether they're smart enough to take out an alert system, may just be the loud noises that they don't like that they're going after.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, he did.
And it just so happens that that's our alarm system they're taking out too. Or it could be just like John Doe said, and that they're just smart enough and that they know that that's
Right.
going to alert us. Who knows? I mean,
Yeah.
Other people have made the comments that there are peaceful ones in clans that are peaceful. Yeah, I believe that. We have it in our own culture. You got pedophiles, you got rapists.
Yeah.
The same thing probably in the Bigfoot community as far as clans go. But yeah,
But when you start dealing with Dogman, you don't get peaceful encounter stories with Dogman.
I've never heard of one.
Yeah,
No.
the encounter stories you get with Dogman, people felt like they were being hunted. So
Right.
I'd say if you've got dogs and run into a Dogman, that thing's going to take the dogs out. Probably same thing with the Howler.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see that thing as being anything but a big predator.
No, it's all it is. All it is. And it's the same thing as a Gugway. Like everybody says, like Gugways are just made to kill. That's all they're made for. You don't see anybody with a peaceful encounter with a Gugway.
Yeah.
Love your shirt, DA. Yeah, everybody loves his shirt.
I've got some obnoxious Bigfoot Hawaiian shirts. I've got one where Bigfoot's on a surfboard, and then I've got another one where it's him and aliens walking through the woods together. I've got a whole bunch of them. Looking to get more. Probably after Christmas, I'll probably order 3 or 4 more.
You gonna wear that in May? You gonna wear those shirts in May when we go up?
More than likely.
Okay, good.
I'll have a menagerie of obnoxious shirts to wear.
I guess Doc isn't coming on. He couldn't make
Yeah,
it.
he said he had a bunch of orders to get filled, so he said he'd try to get here for the second hour, but he's probably still busy. Letitia says you need an Inhumanoids. I've got an Inhumanoid shirt you guys gave me at the Dogman conference. I've worn it on the show a time or two. Next show I'll wear it.
I have one too. And I'll tell you what, on my show, I will wear mine tomorrow night on the show. I have one.
Tombstone says I need a Bogan shirt. Yeah, I definitely need a Bogan shirt. For those of you who don't know what a Bogan is an Australian, basically a redneck. My family were all hillbillies. If we'd grown up in Australia, we'd be called Bogans. So I want to get a T-shirt that says I'm a Bogan on it. Letitia, you guys gave my wife and me both one, and she said it's one of her favorite shirts because they're so soft.
Yeah, they are.
Really awesome T-shirts.
Yep.
Oh boy.
Mark says I like the new hat, DA, but I missed the Kolchak hat a little. Oh, it's right there. I mean, I'm just swapping it up and wearing different hats.
He's got
This is
that
my newest acquisition.
Yeah, he's got that Breaking Bad look going on right now. That's what it is. Speaking of Breaking Bad, how's Jesus doing?
I haven't heard from him in a while. I need to text him. We need to get him on the show again.
I texted him. I think he's busy as hell. So
Yeah.
So we got Breaking Bad, Walking Dead, Yellowstone. Krista, what are you representing?
Legally Blonde.
Okay.
That's the first thing that come to my mind.
Alrighty.
Studies and Observation Group says bring back the SPQR headgear.
Yeah.
That my helmet's over here behind my green screen. I can't reach it easily, or I'd grab it. I can't remember what SPQR stands for. I think it's Senatus Populi Questorum Roma, for the Senate and the people of Rome.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Lil Patty says need a pair of sunglasses out with that shirt. Yeah, I've got prescription sunglasses, but I left them out in the. Oh, thanks. I've got my old ones. See if I've got the. Yeah, that's them. These are my old prescription sunglasses. I just got new glasses today. There we go.
There you go.
There you go.
Now he looks like John Lennon.
Mark Nigger says, don't forget the Boggy Creek hat. It's over here with the hats on my shelf somewhere. I love that hat, but I don't wear it on the show because it's a green like camouflage hat, and it chroma keys most of it out. World Bigfoot says, I'm pretty sure I have a good idea what a gugway is. And if I'm correct, they're as related to Bigfoot as a jacktail is to grizzly. I think you may be onto something like that. I think a gugway isn't necessarily a type of Bigfoot. I think it's a relic population of giant baboon, because North America was home to megafauna giant baboons. World says nice shades. Corey Cole says that's funny. DA, when I was 7, I drew a picture of Sasquatch and an alien riding in a flying saucer together. I captioned it, drop me off right down here so I can scare those campers.
That's pretty funny.
Pork and Mean says, anyone know of a place to get good artwork of Bigfoot portraits for a Christmas gift? Absolutely. Letitia Nunnally's husband, Barton, does some amazing artwork.
I have some myself.
What does he do?
Let me see if I can find Barton's link.
While you're
Letitia,
looking
will you private message me, Facebook message me the link so that he can Pork and Beans can buy some of Barton's art for. He said he's looking for artwork for Bigfoot portraits for Christmas gift. Yeah, Barton Nunnally would be the go-to guy for that. I was actually just going to mention that here shortly. John Doe says we need to get talking about megafauna. It's been a long time since the last time. Yeah, we definitely need to do a show just on megafauna. Mitzi Stabe says, has there been any new sightings of Dogman? There are new sightings coming in all the time.
Yeah.
Almost practically daily. No problem. Werewolf says, who's a good dog man?
So, D8, have you heard of the Star Wars theory, speaking of Bigfoot and aliens?
No. What is that?
And I still can't figure out if it was a joke or somebody really thinks that Steven Spielberg actually meant this when he wrote. But and supposedly it's tied into Raiders of the Lost Ark too, because I've heard, I haven't seen it, but I've heard that when he's in the very first cave, that there is one of the cave drawings has C-3PO on it. So the theory is that the Millennium Falcon actually crashed, and Bigfoot is ancestors of Chewbacca.
No. Okay. I thought, from what I heard, was that he wrote Star Wars based from the Bible, actually. He actually took the good and evil from hell, from the devil and Jesus. Like, that's what I heard about, but maybe I'm wrong. It could be.
Well, I mean, that could be another theory too. There is a theory that
is there really? Did anybody get a capture of the drawing on the wall?
I haven't seen it.
I haven't seen it.
Me either.
That's what I heard. Is that that's how that's how they tied in. It's all in the same universe with Spielberg
crazy.
and George Lucas and all that.
That would be nuts.
Yeah. Which, Harrison Ford played both of those characters, and supposedly everything that happened in Star Wars happened way before what we're doing right now. It happened, because it's like it says long, long ago in a galaxy far, far away. So supposedly the theory is that Han
would be cool.
And Chewbacca crash landed on Earth, and that's where Bigfoot came from, as they were, descendants of the Wookiees.
Yeah, that would be crazy, wouldn't it?
Hey, Pork and Beans, I am posting the link to Barton Nunnally's Facebook group. It's called Inhumanoids. Just request to join the group, and they've got links all over that page where you can purchase those artwork, and there's pictures of it. They've got T-shirts and some pretty awesome stuff on there. The artwork is amazing. Yep. Bart's a hell of an artist, so yeah, you guys definitely need to check that out.
See what World Bigfoot Radio says is the Wookiee got into the movie because George Lucas had a friend who was a Bigfoot fanatic, and her name was Wookiee. Not kidding.
No, really.
And that would kind of sort of lend to the.
Here's one by John Doe. John Doe looked this one up, I assume, where he knows it. Non-comic featured Chewbacca crashing on Earth, being filmed by Patterson. Okay.
Like I said, I've heard it, but I don't know. I didn't know if it was just a joke because he looked like Bigfoot, or if it was actually a legitimate theory that there were people buying into.
That was a good one.
That's funny.
Well, Chewbacca was married. He had a kid.
Yeah.
The Christmas special, which no true Star Wars fans likes to talk about, but he did. That's what that whole premise of that show was him getting back to his family to celebrate whatever their little holiday was.
Yeah, there's so many theories. We're going to have to get George Lucas on here to ask him personally. That's it.
Yep.
I'm determined to call Lucas Studios and get it done. I'm done.
Okay. It will be awesome if you can get him on, but I don't think he's going to answer us.
Hey, don't throw shit past me, man. You never know.
Good point. You pulled off some pretty major coups before.
Yeah, I could probably do it. I'll figure it out.
World Bigfoot Radio says Chewbacca was a space Bigfoot.
Yeah.
And this is a good one from John Doe. Originally they wanted the Battle of Endor to feature Wookiees instead of Ewoks, but monetary concerns forced them to downsize things heavily in the most literal means. So, well, I mean, the Ewoks did look like small Wookiees anyway, and that's why I think that's why they had them act so fond of Chewbacca in the movie.
Well, then the really disturbing thing about the Ewoks was realizing they were eating those stormtroopers.
You guys are going to hate on me, but I never could get into a Star Wars movie.
Really?
I knew it was coming when you said that. I was like, oh, Lord.
I'm a big fanatic.
I've tried, but
I love even when Disney puts on the Mandalorian and all the new Star. I'm like they had on Obi-Wan. I'm a big fanatic when it comes to Star. That's what I grew up on.
The shows are great.
Yeah, I grew up on
movies that Disney had them put out are not. Maybe one of them is okay, but
no, I'm talking about the Disney ones on Disney Channel. Those small
that's what I'm saying. The shows they put out,
are
Mandalorian, awesome. The Book of Boba Fett.
Yeah.
The Obi-Wan, that was one of my favorite ones.
And they had Obi-Wan that just came out. That was a really good one. I mean, I grew up, I'm a 70s kid. So, I mean, just like DA is, Robbie's not far behind. I grew up on that.
Kid.
Yeah, I remember going to the movies. My dad took me to go see Star Wars.
Yep.
Yeah, I remember seeing Star Wars when it first came out at a drive-in theater outside of Clayton, New Mexico.
Right.
Yep.
So, I mean, as a kid, that's one of my fondest memories with my dad.
I remember standing in line for 3 hours to get tickets for Return of the Jedi.
Yep. And that went, I was a kid then, to have Darth Vader walk out of the movie theater in full costume, you're like, oh my God, like that sticks with you. You're with your dad and everything, and so yeah, I'm a big fanatic when it comes to that. Like John, he can't get into that. John's not into the Star Wars stuff. I love it.
Country Boy, are you talking about specifically a dog man, or are you talking about just like werewolf type movie?
Dog Soldiers.
Dog Soldiers is a good one.
It's
That
actually
is a
made.
very good movie.
It's made here. It's made in Britain, but when you see the actors in it, you'll know who they are. There's a lot of British actors in it, and it has to do with Special Air Service soldiers that are dropped off in the woods.
Well, the group that's actually the main group, they're just playing.
Right, they're regular army.
But there's an SAS group out there,
right,
in the woods with them.
But you got to watch it. Primal Rage, yes, is one.
Oh, that's a good one.
That's a Gugway movie. That's a real good movie.
Yeah. But as far as like werewolf type movies, Dog Soldiers is really good. Silver Bullet is.
Silver Bullet.
If you can get past that, the werewolf kind of looks like a big teddy bear in certain scenes.
What is
the movie itself is really good, and there are certain scenes where the werewolf is really scary. The scene where he's under the little greenhouse or whatever, when the guy's walking there, and it walks over and you see him underneath the floor. That's a scary scene. American Werewolf in London obviously was one of the great ones.
That's a classic.
The first Howling, nothing past the first one. Everything past the first one is sheer stupidity. But the very first one, I've seen so many werewolf movies. It's hard to.
Oh yeah.
Because werewolf movies, it's not like, some vampire movie or most vampire movies, they can be kind of like on a sliding scale from really, really good down. Werewolf movies are either really good or they're really stupid. Yeah. There's just no in between with a werewolf movie.
No. Right.
Like Project Metal Beast, that could have been one of the best werewolf movies ever, and it's probably one of the dumbest. Even though Kane Hodder played the werewolf, how do you ruin a werewolf movie with Kane Hodder playing the werewolf? Well, that movie did it.
Yeah, I watched one a couple of months ago, and what's his name was in it? The one that played Aquaman.
Jason Momoa. Yes, that's a good one. That's Wolves.
That's it. Yeah, that was a pretty good movie.
That's more of a wolf man type than it is a werewolf. When you go into the different types, that's more the Lon Chaney, Benicio del Toro type. Which and there's a lot of people on the fence about that new remake of the Wolfman with Benicio del Toro. I actually liked that. I thought it was a very good.
That was a good movie.
It stayed true enough to the original, but still modernized it enough to, for today's audiences, I thought. And that was a Benicio del Toro put a lot of his own money and effort into getting that thing made, and I think it turned out really good. But that's me. I like stupid werewolf movies anyway. So
yeah, Uncle John likes his Hallmark movies, but he is a big Star Trek fan. He's a Trekkie. He's to the word go, man. Loves his Star Trek.
I like all the Star Treks except the ones with Jean-Luc Picard and all the Next Generation. I can't stand that stuff.
And I don't think he does either. He likes the what's his name that's in it? That guy, the kid. I call him a kid.
Oh, you talking about the new one like Chris Pine and all them?
That's it, Chris Pine. Yeah, he loves those.
Those are good too. I like those. But I grew up watching William Shatner and Leonard Nimoy and DeForest Kelly. That was my. But see, my brother grew up in the Next Generation because we're 8 years apart. So that last movie that they made with William Shatner and when he was, he basically Jean-Luc Picard couldn't get the job done because he kept getting in that Nexus. He kept getting his tail beat, and he had to go back and get Captain Kirk because Captain Kirk could fight. And I hated that movie. My brother's like, "Well, that's what a real captain would do." I'm like, "Yeah, he couldn't win his own fights. He had to go get Captain Kirk to beat the guy's tail for him."
Oh yeah, he's a big fan. He loves Star Trek, man.
And
So
Tombstone says, "Where you talking about the new Marvel Werewolf by Night?" Yeah, that was. They went a little bit away from the comic in that they took some
I
liberties.
didn't like it. I didn't like it.
I think you have to be a fan of Werewolf by Night to understand it. Because if you
Right.
don't understand the comic and know where things were coming from, it's not going to make a lot of sense to you. But if you know the comic and you know where a lot of that stuff was coming from, because if not, you have no clue where he's at, who he is, what he's doing, and what's going on. But to know the comic and know the dynamic between him and Man Thing, and know that they were always back and forth trying to save each other, and you can understand why he was in that, it would make more sense to you. But if you don't follow that comic, you're not going to know. It's just going to be like, what is this? Which is probably where you were at with it, right?
I was like, what is, I had no idea what it was.
Yeah.
I seen it on there and I'm like, oh, a new Marvel. Okay, skit. Let me see what it is. I'm like, what is, I'm like, oh, this is stupid. So, which I thought She-Hulk was dumb because I think the only good thing out of She-Hulk is that Daredevil had made an appearance in it.
Yeah.
That was about it.
Yeah, the thing that I did like about She-Hulk was they did add the fourth wall breaks in there, because that was something that comic did all the time, was her stopping mid-action and turning around looking at the audience that was reading. I love that part of it, but they took a lot of liberties on that one too. It got away from. I'm a big fan of the stuff that stays true.
Right.
To the,
it's like how when Marvel got bought out, that's how it happened.
Well, Disney owns everything.
Huh?
Disney owns everything. So.
Oh yeah. So it's it's just I don't know. It's nothing stays the same anymore, Robbie. Remember that.
Oh, I know.
So
that's why Hollywood runs out of ideas and they got to remake everything.
Yeah, Daredevil was the highlight. Yeah, it was, because they're bringing Daredevil back as a series, and the Punisher. That's like me. I'm a diehard Punisher fan. I love the Punisher. And Daredevil. So it's like, for them to come back when he made the appearance in She-Hulk, I was like, oh, this is cool. They changed this whole uniform up. It's gold and red now. It's like.
Yeah. Well, that Daredevil in that show, he's a lot more true to the source material than Ben Affleck's was in that movie.
Right. Yeah, the Punisher. He does come. They're coming back with a series, and I know that the same actor.
Well,
is
the actor the actor that plays Daredevil in that, they actually had him. He was in some of the. He was in which Spider-Man was it? The first one was Far From Home or Homecoming. The second one, he was actually in there. He was going to play Peter Parker's, or he was going to be his attorney. So it was actually him, the same actor that plays him in She-Hulk and in
because it comes from Queens, Hell's Kitchen, and then Peter Parker's from Queens, New York. So yeah, that was the best thing about it when they did the whole show. And like I said, they try to dance it up more than what it is. Well,
like Captain America is my favorite, and they took a lot of liberties with Captain America with the movie. But they did stay true. They, putting his speech in there that he gave about, planting yourself by the river like an oak tree and telling the world, no, you move. It was taken out of context. He gave that speech in a different scenario than what it was done in the movie.
Right.
At least they put it in there. So
yeah, Battlestar Galactica. Yep, love Battlestar Galactica. Yes, I do.
Cylon scared the crap out of me when I was a kid.
Loved that show, man. Even when they made the remake on Sci-Fi Channel, loved it.
It was okay, but I'm not a big fan of them changing Starbuck to a female. I mean, nothing wrong, but why do you have to change a character that's totally something else and make it something?
You want me to answer that? It's
I
called
know why. I'm just saying.
It's politically correct. That's why. That's why
I
they're
know.
doing it. You know. Oh, but yeah, we got off a subject again talking about Marvel comics. DA's probably like, shut the hell up already with this.
I was just letting you guys go.
Yeah, I was just listening too. It's all good.
Sorry, me and Anthony get off on tangents sometimes. It'd have been worse if Doc had been here.
Oh, yeah.
Probably.
Because you know how me and Doc get when we start talking about movies.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, we are at the 2 hours and 15-minute mark. Probably start winding things down. Billy Dink says we need a Howler series. I did feature the Ozark Howler in book 3 of the Lakeview Man series, Beast of Blunk Road, but I would look for them to probably show up again. Folks, remember we are now an affiliate with Scallywag Tactical. If you use the link here, it's also been posted in the chat a couple times. If you follow that link and you find anything you like there at Scallywag Tactical and use the discount code DA Roberts 10, you'll get 10% off all your purchases at Scallywag. Fantastic knives. You will not be disappointed.
And Christmas is coming, so
And
I'm
Christmas
sure
is
people
definitely
know.
Yeah. Don't remind me.
Yeah, fantastic Christmas gifts for those guys, for those people in your lives that use pocket knives. I know I don't leave home without at least 2. You never know what you're going to need to cut.
You don't know
And
who
I
you're going to
constantly
cut?
use mine.
Is that what you said?
What's that?
What did you say? You don't know who you're going to cut?
What you might need to cut.
That would be my saying.
Not who.
That would be my saying. I don't know who I would cut. Is right. I know who I would cut, but we're not going to get on that subject.
Was it Mad Dog Mattis said? You should always carry a knife because you never know when somebody might need stabbing or there could be cheesecake.
That's it. That's all.
I'm hoping for the cheesecake.
Well, what's the other saying he said he goes, what did he say? Do you lose sleep at night? He goes, no, I sleep fine. They lose sleep at night because they worry about me. When he said that to the CNN reporter when they were interviewing him, that was a good one.
Yeah, he was quite the character.
Yeah. I still say he should run for president.
You'd probably get it.
Uh-huh.
But, folks, thank you guys for being with us tonight. We kind of went down the rabbit hole and jumped off topic, but, there are some definite suspects for what could be the origin of the Ozarks Howler. And, of course, we talked about the possible link to what they call sheep squatch. I'll throw that picture back up there one more time, and you can really kind of see the resemblance of what could possibly been considered a sheep squatch.
Yeah.
That's a really good artist representation. That thing looks freaking terrifying. Again, lots of possible origin stories. Could it be leftover creodon? Creodonts? Could it be related to the Kushi, which from Scottish legend? The Black Shook hellhounds. There's lots of possibilities of what could explain this type of creature, but it's certainly no hoax. It's not a myth. It's sightings date back to the early 1800s, including the most infamous one being Daniel Boone, who allegedly killed one. So just because you don't think it's out there doesn't mean it might not be. There are stranger things in this world, and we're finding new stuff all the time, and stuff that we thought was long since dead, like the thylacine. There's really bizarre stuff out there in the hills and valleys of the Ozarks, and I guarantee you, if you look hard enough, in the areas around you as well.
Yeah.
Lots of unsolved mysteries here in the United States. And just because people seem to think that we're the masters of our domain, that goes right out the window once you get off the trail out in the deep woods.
Mm-hmm.
We are not in charge. That is not our world. But if you're going to go out, camping, fishing, hunting, backpacking, be safe. Take something to defend yourself. Make sure somebody knows where you're going and when you're supposed to be back. So if you don't come back on time, somebody knows where to look for you. Take something like a life straw so you've always got access to fresh water. Just be prepared. We want you guys to come home safe no matter where you're going or what you're doing, take a med kit. Specifically, I would recommend Dark Angel Medical, not just because Carrie's my good friend, but because I put my life in the hands of those kits. I carried those on duty as a cop, and I would not carry any other. They're just fantastic kits. So swing by Dark Angel Medical. Use the discount code Cryptid25 for 25% off your order. And make sure you've got something, even if it's just basic first aid, because if you're away from 911 services, even minor injuries can be life-threatening. So again, thank you guys for joining us tonight. We will not have a show on Saturday night. It turns out I'm going to be at that convention later than I had originally planned. It looks like the events go all the way up to midnight on Saturday night. So there will not be a show this Saturday night. I will be at what's called Geekmas. And you can look that up. Just Google Geekmas 2022. And it's a 3-day event here in Springfield. And I'll be there with books and patches and maybe even hosting some panels. So hopefully if you guys are in the Springfield area, you'll come check it out. It'll be at the University Plaza Trade Center for 3 days, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So we will be back again next Wednesday night. I'll have the topic posted here in the next day or two. And we hope you guys will join us then. So we will not see you this Saturday night because I will be at a convention, and want to thank you guys for being here. Thank you guys for spending your time with us. Krista, thanks for joining us. We managed to stay on topic for a little bit.
It's all good. I always enjoy coming on with you guys. You guys are fun.
Well, we appreciate you. And tell Brandy we hope she gets to feeling better. And, guys, Doc wanted to be with us tonight, but he's just really swamped, busy, filling orders with Dark Angel. So let's make him busier. That's a good thing for a veteran-owned business to be busy. So, go over by darkangelmedical.com and don't forget to use that code Cryptid25 at checkout. And Doc's a good man. Let's show him some love. So again, appreciate you guys being with us. Robbie, Anthony, appreciate you boys hanging out.
Yes.
And folks, again, no show this Saturday because I'll be at a convention, but we will be back next Wednesday night. And again, thank you guys for spending your time with us. I hope you guys had a good time. I know we did. And we will see you guys on the next one. Hope you guys have a great night. Good night, everybody.
Thank you for joining us. Catch us again Wednesdays and Saturdays on DAX Machina. A special thanks to all our channel members and Patreon supporters. Please make sure to like, share, and subscribe.